Welcome to the Autism Infocast. I'm Peter Clark, founder and chairman of the Autism Info Center. Our podcasts delve into every part of autism and neurodiversity, and we want to help you spread understanding, respect, and kindness for those whose lives are affected. Whether you're autistic yourself, or whether you know or care for someone who's autistic, or maybe you just come into contact with autistic people in everyday life. Either way, please feel free to check out our hundreds of articles, videos, books, and training courses at autisminfocenter.org. And I'll leave you now in the capable hands of today's hosts, Jemima and Theo. Over to you.
Communication, it turns out, is way more complex than we usually give it credit for.
Yeah.
And that really comes into focus when different communication styles bump up against each other.
Definitely.
So today, we're going to get into understanding and, importantly, adapting to autistic communication differences. And honestly, this isn't just about being nice or considerate.
No, not at all.
It feels much more fundamental. A key skill for building, stronger, clearer relationships, ones that actually work wherever you are in life.
Yeah, it's crucial.
Our mission for this podcast is, pretty straightforward, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give you, if you're neurotypical, meaning your brain processes things in ways considered typical by the majority, some practical real-world tools, a roadmap maybe, for communicating more effectively, more supportively with the autistic people in your life. So we'll explore some common differences you might notice and give you some clear strategies to use.
Think of it as a shortcut to genuinely connecting.
Yeah, exactly. A shortcut to understanding.
And that willingness to adapt you mentioned, that's really the heart of it. For any interaction to, really click, it needs mutual understanding. We both need to get how messages are being sent and received.
Right.
And what's so important to grasp right away is that these aren't flaws. They're not mistakes in how someone talks.
Okay.
They come from the unique way the autistic brain processes language, uses language. It's like a different operating system running.
That's a great analogy. Different OS.
Yeah. And if we see it that way, we can approach things with respect, curiosity, a real desire to connect, instead of just getting frustrated.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit then. If communication sometimes feels, a bit off track, what are we actually seeing? What are some of these common communication differences that are important for us to be aware of?
Well, a really significant one is what we often call literal interpretation.
Literal interpretation.
Yeah. Many autistic people process language very, very literally. So things like sarcasm, idioms, figures of speech.
Like break a leg. Or...
Exactly. Or even something more subtle. Their meaning might not land the way you intended.
Yeah.
Think about a manager saying something like, "Can you just keep an eye on your emails?"
Okay, yeah, pretty standard.
For a neurotypical person, that usually implies check emails for urgent stuff, but keep doing your main job.
Right. Multitask.
But an autistic person might hear that literally, and they might stop everything else they're doing to only watch their email inbox.
Wow. Okay.
And see, it's not that they didn't understand. It's actually a super precise interpretation of the words you used.
That's fascinating. Precision, not failure.
Exactly.
That makes so much sense why misunderstandings could happen, especially in a busy office.
Oh, definitely.
And you mentioned precision.
Yeah.
That brings up directness, right? That's another area people talk about. How does that usually show up, and how can it sometimes be, misunderstood?
Yeah, you're right. Autistic communication often leans towards being very direct, very honest, right to the point.
Okay.
An autistic person is often likely to say exactly what they mean, sometimes without the sort of social padding or, the subtext that neurotypical folks use all the time.
Like easing into things or softening feedback.
Right. And while sometimes, it can be seen as bluntness by someone who's not used to it, it usually comes from a preference for clarity, for efficiency. Why waste time being vague?
Makes sense. Do you have an example?
Sure. Instead of, say, doing the whole dance to politely exit a conversation you're done with.
Right, the slow fade.
Yeah. An autistic person might just say, very clearly, I am no longer interested in this topic, and I am going to leave now.
Okay.
Very concise, unambiguous, and actually, once you understand that this is their style, that kind of unvarnished honesty, it can build incredible trust.
How so?
Because there are no guessing games. You know exactly where you stand. What they say is what they mean.
That's a really powerful way to reframe it. It sort of challenges our own ideas about what good communication has to look like, doesn't it?
It really does.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Nonverbal stuff. Eye contact is a big one people mention. Why might making direct eye contact be difficult for some autistic individuals?
Ah, yes. Eye contact. For many autistic people, making it, and especially sustaining it, can be really intensely uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable how?
It can be distracting, overload the senses. For some, it's even described as physically painful. Imagine trying to listen really carefully to someone while they're shining a bright, flashing light right in your eyes.
Wow, okay. That paints a picture.
It's a bit like that for some. That intense visual input can actually pull cognitive resources away from processing the words being spoken. It makes listening harder.
So avoiding eye contact isn't about being rude or dishonest.
Not at all. It's often a necessary strategy, a way to manage sensory input so they can actually focus on what you're saying, concentrate on the conversation. It's about effective listening for them.
That makes so much sense when you explain it like that. So if eye contact is different, what about other nonverbals? Body language, facial expressions, how might those differ, and, what misunderstandings pop up there?
Well, similar idea, really. An autistic person might not use body language or facial expressions in the ways neurotypical people expect them to show how they're feeling.
Okay.
Or they might find it genuinely hard to read those cues in other people.
So like a mismatch.
Sometimes. For instance, someone could be feeling really happy, genuinely quite joyful inside, but their facial expression might look neutral, or what some people might call flat.
Right. I've heard that term.
And this is where assumptions can really trip us up. It's so important not to assume, someone's internal emotional state just based on how they look on the outside.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. What you see isn't always the full story. And jumping to conclusions there, that causes a lot of unnecessary friction.
That's a huge reminder for all of us, really, not just in this context.
Yeah.
Okay, sticking with internal stuff. Processing time. What's the deal with pauses in conversation? Why are they important?
Processing time, yes.
Yeah.
Autistic individuals often need a bit more time to process verbal information before they can actually formulate a response.
Okay, so a slight delay sometimes.
Exactly. It naturally leads to pauses, maybe silences in the flow of conversation. Now, for neurotypical people, there's often this, strong urge to fill that silence, right?
To jump in, rephrase, ask again.
Yes, that exact temptation. But doing that, it can actually interrupt their thought process. It makes it harder for them to gather their thoughts and give you the response they were working on.
Okay. So jumping in is counterproductive.
Very much so. Resisting that urge, just allowing that space, that silence, without interrupting, that shows respect. It shows you value their response and you're willing to wait for it.
So patience isn't just nice. It's like a core communication tool here.
Absolutely fundamental.
Before we get into the really practical tips,
Yeah.
are there other, maybe less common ways of communicating we should know about? Things like echolalia or AAC.
Good question, yes. Some autistic individuals might use echolalia.
What is?
It's repeating words or phrases they've heard. It's not meaningless repetition, though. It can serve different functions.
Like what?
It might be a way of processing the language, sort of turning it over in their mind. It could be affirming what was said, like, okay, I heard that.
Yeah.
Or even a form of self-regulation, something calming or focusing.
Interesting. So how should you respond to that?
Well, understanding its function helps. You can maybe acknowledge the repetition gently, show you heard it without demanding they say something different right away. And then there's AAC. Augmentative and alternative communication. For autistic people who have limited or no spoken language, AAC methods are absolutely vital.
What does that include?
It's a whole range of tools. Could be picture exchange systems, communication boards with symbols or words, or even quite sophisticated speech-generating devices like tablets that speak out loud.
Okay.
And for you, as the communication partner, it means being patient, respecting their chosen tool, whatever it is, and giving their communication the same time, attention, and value you'd give to spoken words.
Right. Treat it with the same weight.
Exactly.
Okay, this is super helpful context. So let's pivot to the really practical side. Now we know some core differences. How can you, the listener, adapt your own style? How can you be a better, more supportive communication partner? What's the number one thing?
The single most effective thing you can do, be clear, be concise, and be direct.
Clear, concise, direct. Okay.
Yeah.
What does that look like in practice?
It means using straightforward language, actively trying to avoid ambiguity, metaphors, vague instructions. So, for instance, instead of just saying something vague like, could you get that report sorted out for me?
Which could mean anything. proofread it, file it, rewrite it.
Exactly. Rephrase it to be super specific. Something like, please could you proofread the 3-page report on my desk?
Okay.
And email me any corrections by 4 p.m.
Much clearer. Who, what, where, when.
Precisely. It removes the guesswork. It makes sure your message lands exactly as you meant it. It just cuts down on that need for interpretation where, honestly, most misunderstandings start.
That's a fantastic concrete example, and it loops back to what you said earlier about literal interpretation. So how do we handle idioms and sarcasm? You know, the stuff that just slips out for many of us.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? If you're someone who naturally uses a lot of sarcasm or figures of speech, just be aware. Be mindful that the intended meaning might get completely lost.
Or worse.
Or worse, it might be taken literally as a criticism or something confusing.
Yeah.
If you do use sarcasm, maybe catch yourself and follow up with a clear explanation.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Instead of just dropping a sarcastic, "Oh yeah, that was a great job, wasn't it?" Which could be really confusing or hurtful.
Right. Ambiguous and potentially mean.
Be clearer. Say something like, "Okay, that didn't quite go how I hoped it would. But look, it's just a small error. Please don't worry about it."
Okay. State the reality, then the reassurance.
Exactly. Always go for clarity over trying to be clever or witty in these moments. It's just much kinder and more effective.
Yeah, it's a really good self-correction to practice. Probably good advice, generally.
Yeah.
Okay, we also talked about processing time. How do we actually do that? How do we be patient and allow processing time in the real world when we're so used to that quick back and forth?
It really is about making a conscious effort.
Yeah.
You have to actively resist that urge, that impulse to fill the silence.
Just wait.
Just wait. When you ask a question, deliberately give the person the time they need to think. Don't jump in. Don't rephrase after 2 seconds. Let the silence sit there for a bit.
Even if it feels a little awkward for me.
Even if it feels a little awkward for you initially. Because allowing that space without interrupting, it sends a powerful message. It says, I value your thoughts and I'm willing to wait for them. It shows respect for their internal process.
Okay. Patience is an active choice. And then once they've had that time, or maybe after you've explained something complex, how do we check for understanding explicitly, but like without making it feel like a test? Nobody likes feeling grilled.
That's a really important nuance because, yeah, you don't want it to feel like a pop quiz. It's about making it collaborative, not accusatory.
Right.
So definitely avoid blunt questions like, do you get it? Or did you understand? That can really put someone on the spot, make them feel inadequate.
So it's a better way.
A much more helpful approach is to frame it as checking your own clarity. So maybe a manager could say to an employee, just so I know I've explained this project clearly.
Putting the onus on yourself.
Exactly. Could you tell me what you see as the first step? Or what's your understanding of the deadline? It invites them to summarize, which confirms understanding, but frames it as you checking your explanation, not their ability to comprehend.
That's brilliant. Subtle shift. Big difference in feel. Okay, last practical point. What if there's a conflict? Like, what someone is saying doesn't seem to match what their body language looks like to me? How do we handle that? How do we really listen to their words?
Yeah, that happens. In those situations where their words and your interpretation of their nonverbals seem mismatched, it's generally more reliable to trust what the person is actually saying.
Trust the words over my gut feeling about their body language.
Often, yes. Remember, our neurotypical interpretations of body language aren't universal translators. They don't always apply accurately.
Okay.
So if you're genuinely unsure, the best thing to do is ask for clarification. Directly, but gently.
How would you phrase that?
Maybe something like, you said you're okay to continue, but I just want to check in, as sometimes I'm not great at reading things. Is there anything you need?
Again, framing it around your potential misinterpretation.
Exactly. It puts the focus on your potential difficulty reading cues, rather than accusing them of sending mixed signals. It just opens the door for them to share more honestly if something is up, without feeling judged or put on the spot. You know, when you boil it all down, successful communication between autistic and non-autistic people, it really is a partnership.
A two-way street.
Absolutely. It needs that willingness, especially from the neurotypical person, to step outside their own default communication habits, their assumptions, to really listen with an open mind, you know, and a patient heart.
Meeting in the middle.
Or sometimes, yeah, taking that extra step to meet someone where they are, understanding that their way of processing, their way of expressing themselves, it's just as valid as yours. It's just different.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener, in your everyday life?
Well, it means better conversations, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think by actively using these strategies, being clear, direct, patient, respectful, you can really cut down on those frustrating misunderstandings.
Definitely.
But it's more than just avoiding problems, right? You actually build genuine trust. You foster connections that feel stronger, more real, more rewarding with the autistic people around you.
Whether that's family, friends, colleagues, anyone.
Exactly. It's about creating spaces where everyone feels truly heard, truly understood.
Yeah.
And that just makes relationships richer for everyone involved.
Couldn't agree more.
So as you go about your week, maybe just consider this. How often do we make assumptions about what someone else means or what they intend based purely on our own ways of talking and listening?
That's a good question to sit with.
What might change? What might shift in your interactions if you deliberately paused? Pause to consider a different interpretation, maybe one based on directness, on literal meaning, on needing a bit more time before you jump in with your response. Just think about the richness, the understanding that might open up if we truly made space for these different ways of connecting.
Thank you, Jemima and Theo. I'm sure we've all learned something there today. Don't forget to visit autisminfocenter.org to hear our other episodes, browse our library of articles, see our inspiring range of books, watch our videos about autism and neurodiversity, and find out about training courses that can help you or your organization make the world a safer, happier, and more meaningful place for us all. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please feel free to spread the word about Autism Info Center. A quick mention on your socials is always appreciated. Until next time, this is Peter Clark from autisminfocenter.org. Have a great day.